presenter today. Fawzia is a licensed paralegal, confident coach, and a mediator. She has been presenting various workshops in different organizations, and she's also operating Noor Legal Services Professional Corporation, which offers services to people in motor vehicle accident cases. Because of her diverse multilingual background, she has been dealing with different peoples from different cultures. So today she is going to be talking about how cultures influence behaviors. So over to you, Fawzia.
Yeah, hi, hi, how is everyone? How's everyone doing? Good? Okay. So today I'm gonna talk about the topic about how culture influence behavior, right? So there are three main topic that I'm going to highlight. The first one is, how does culture influence behavior and communication? How does culture affect your attitude and moral behavior? Does culture influence personality of an individual? So before we start about how the culture influence behavior, I would like to ask you guys, what is culture? If I would ask, like anyone would like to answer that? Yes.
Perception,
Pardon?
perception, how you perceive the world and who you are and what should be.
Okay, perception. And the Sophia?
Culture is a set of norms or standards that the community usually follows. It includes the traditional values as well, and along with all the other different values that have been brought into that society with experiences, let's say, or with awareness.
Okay, that's a very nice way, of explaining. That's what I was going to tell. So, like in my definition that I got, culture is belief about ethics, right? And behaviors and values that are held by a majority of people within a society, right? The culture of which we are part impacts our identity and even our beliefs about the nature of life. So the word culture came from I have here that I was just finding, I like to know about the word where the culture, the meaning of the culture came from. So I was, I think it's like, what do you call, I forgot that language. It comes from, the word culture comes from Latin, right? Cultura, like, which means cultivating, or figuratively to care. In this sense, culture refers to the act of cultivating knowledge and education in people, right? So that's where the word came from, the Latin. So that there's a characteristics of culture too, right? So working from previous, so it as like assimilates from, before we are born, we are influenced by culture. So like where we are born, Asia or like Europe, and it's something that done, it's not innate to a culture, right? So like you culture, like I feel like a lot of people, they actually mix culture with religion, like especially the young generation. They don't know if is this religion or is this culture. So like I was brought up in Europe, but I'm from Asia, but I was born in Africa. So whenever I talk to people, I explain to them what they're doing, this is culture, but this is religion. So it's sometimes it's hard to differentiate, either like because we are taught in a certain way, and we are not we are not no one tell us that, okay, this is culture, this is religion, like the society want us to figure out by ourselves. But sometime I think the new generation, that are coming out, I think most of them, they're like, when they don't ask questions or they don't know, they just follow the culture. I think they mix it, with the religion. And also it also varies from one society to another, right? The characteristics of culture. So, and one society's culture is different than others, is not the same. Sometimes we have similarities. For example, in India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, when they get married, we have there is a way we get married. We have different we wear henna on our hands. We have mehndi. There's like a one party for that, and then we have like the main party where the they say that the daughter is being carried away, going to the husband's family. So like also culture has been um I think like it has been
Looks
gone in different direction. But the other thing what I wanted to specify is that, although it differs from one community to another, symbols that are recognized are recognizable by entire community, a particular language, a way of being. belief systems that give direction to individual lives, values and norms that regulate behavior, customs like music, like food. So like Somadatta told us that she's expressing her dance through, she's expressing like, through the dance, like she's trying to like convey a message. So we do convey a message with art, with dance, like in culture in a different way. That's what I love about culture. So what I wanted to say that like so like I told already that culture also reinforces certain religious beliefs. Some countries are predominantly Catholic while others are Protestant, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu. Each religion carries on its own standards of personal conduct. Some culture encourage close physical proximity when in conversation. So when I was in Oman, like in Middle East. So like how we talk, like the way I'm talking, so we were like, okay, so we went to university. My dad is a professor, so me and my friend, she's from Bosnia, we were walking and we were loud. We were talking loud and everyone was staring at us. And then we felt very awkward. Why are people staring at us? Then we saw that the girls were like, women were talking with a very low voice and man was talking with a loud voice. So we were ha ha ha, how we laugh and joke, and we felt so embarrassed. We're like, oh my God, this is their culture. So they're like, these girls, they're like so loud, they're not supposed to be loud. Like, so then we understood that it's a culture, right? So I'm giving an example. So when we understood the culture, we start like whispering to each other and talking like in a very low voice. So it was very interesting. Like I have a lot of example that I would like to get from you, and I also want to share. So now the other thing is like I wanted to ask you, how does culture influence behavior and communication? I would like each of you to give your feedback, and then I'm gonna talk about this. So I'll start with Shanta. Like, how do you think culture influence behavior and communication?
Culture, each, like you said already, that loud talking is not allowed, and only men can do. Every culture, I think, male dominating, particularly most of the cultures are male dominating. So the men can say any way they want, whatever they want, whereas the woman has to be subdued and not this thing. Her behavior is different. And if these days we see if the girls are more aggressive or talking loud, oh, this is not in our culture. Please do not talk like that. Be softer. You can't talk back. Even talking back to parents was not never allowed to us. We were never did. But our children, and they talk back in the sense they don't talk back as such. They have questions. That's how I perceive it. That's why they ask. The culture is changing. The culture has changed from my parents' time to our time to our children's time.
Thank you so much for sharing. And Sobia, next.
Yes. Yes, I would like to add to this by saying that culture that makes a huge difference. For example, in our culture, let's say Pakistani or you could say Muslim, when you don't look in the eye, the men, especially when they're talking to women, they don't look in the eye because out of respect, they don't look directly the woman in the eye, they look down. And that's out of respect. However, in the Western culture, it's the opposite. If you don't look in the eye, they don't like it. They think, oh, this person is not interested in talking to you. So this is the cultural difference, a huge difference. It's a major difference because you see, there's the same thing and it has a totally negative meaning in one culture and a totally positive meaning in another. So yeah, that's
So
one thing.
when you're talking about that, I remember like, okay, so I was brought up in Europe. I was 9 years old when I left Bangladesh. So I was only 4 years there. So when I got married, I went back home to get married. So my cousin told me that you have to like I knew my husband before I got married. So like, it was not an arranged marriage. So he told me that girls are supposed to be shy and look down. You should not talk to your husband. You should look down. Like, he was showing me like gesture, and I was looking at him like, I can't act. I don't know how to act. I cannot be shy. And then also when you get married, you're supposed to cry because you're getting married away and all that. And I did not cry. I was just smiling, and everyone thought that like I was like awkward because I knew who I was getting married to. Like, they expect you to cry. Like, so like what I'm just saying, that it was very like it was very weird that they told me to do stuff. So I said that I could not do it. So then they thought that I was weird because I don't understand their culture, but I was brought up, abroad. Some whoever is close to me understood that she's brought up back home. That's why she didn't cry. That's why she was not shy, as a bride is supposed to be shy, right? They understood. But people who don't know me, they thought that they start talking about it, like, oh, she did this, she did that. I don't care what people say. I'm just saying, like, when you told me about that, you cannot look into the eyes when you're talking, it just reminded me about my experience when getting married. So okay, Usmanti, you could also see how you think culture influence behavior and communication. Is Usmanti there? Okay, I'll do Kawaljit. I think Usmanti is not there. Yeah, Kawaljit. I can hear you. Your mic.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted. You have to turn off your mic. Yes.
Now, I'm audible.
Yes, now we can hear you.
I would like to submit over here that um culture, I can say, is the values and norms which are set by the society, and they are guided by the society. One thing, and secondly, I would like to say that this culture varies from society to society, from place to place, and it goes on changing from one phase to another phase. Basically, now we can talk about the Western culture and the Eastern culture, entirely different. The values and norms which we are having in the Eastern society, they are entirely different as we are now experiencing while in the Western societies. So in Eastern or in the Indian society, Asian society, we do say that we have set norms. What we have attitude towards our parents, or towards our elders, towards even youngers. We have set certain values, and society gives us some norms. I would like to differentiate over here that the norms and the values, they are different. Norms you have to follow, which are given by your society, and the values you are supposed to follow, but you may or may not follow. Like the youngster generation these days, they are not following the values, though we enforce them to follow the social norms. So this is one aspect of I think of your lecture. And second is that the this culture, which is set by the norms and the values, that certainly directly influences our behavior. So far, our behavior of dressing ourselves, eating habits, getting ready, then rising up in the morning, sleeping time, reading time, going to the work, every action, every behavior of our personality is guided by our behavior, which is influenced by our culture, which is entirely different from where we come from.
Thank you so much. You explained it a really beautiful way, like very nice way. Like, I could not have done better than that.
Oh,
And
no.
right?
Briefly, I would like to say that.
Yeah. And Shavita?
Like everyone said, it impacts almost every area of our lives. I feel that culture conditions us so much, and one of the things which I find interesting is how we bring up our children in the Eastern versus the Western culture. So, I mean, I've seen those cultural differences at work, how they impact our behavior at workplace. Like earlier, Sobia mentioned looking into the eyes. So customers would not like in the Western world if you are like, and for me, I worked in both the worlds, and it was a huge transition. And similarly, in terms of how we bring up our children, the way we communicate with our peers, with our elders, with our children, I feel that it governs every area of our life. And uh, while we can be mindful of other culture, and of course we are respectful of other cultures, but it becomes a bigger challenge when we have to sort of blend into the other culture, where people who are closely connected with us, they embrace their culture, they get onto the totally other side of the culture. So I feel, well, it's beautiful in one sense, embracing it is beautiful, but then there is a very it's very challenging to sort of blend two
Mhm.
cultures. I That's just my perspective.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate. When you told me that, so one of the hardest transition, I did one like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I did like a parenting workshop in my community. What the problem parents are having with their children is that they're born back home, they have a norm like values and culture they're brought up. They try to integrate that in Canada when they have their children who are born in Canada. So when they're growing up, they're trying to integrate the culture and values. What the parents do not understand, because they are being brought up in Canada, Canadian society, they cannot expect them to have the same culture and norms and values the way they had back home. So what I was telling the parents, they have to like integrate themselves with the children to understand the Western culture, and then the children have to understand where the parents are coming. Then they will understand where the parents are coming from. So like, we don't some children are wise, they understand. Some, then you have to explain to them, okay, this is how I was taught by my parents, that's why I want you to do this. But then now you are in Canada, I understand this is how you do it. Like, there is a way to talk and communicate. This is the hardest challenge every parents are having, who are like, because that's why I'm telling the parents, you need to learn about the Western culture. It's not about liking or disliking. Everyone can have their preference and desire. So like, there's some stuff they do in Western culture that I don't. I tell my daughter, like, I don't like this kind of stuff that they do this way, but this is how we do it. I would be happy if you do this way. But what we do is just like, how can you do this? You should not do that. Oh my God, I can't believe you're my daughter, you're my son from today. Like, you talk like that. There is a way to talk and make them understand. Then they get start, mommy, you don't know what I'm saying, you don't understand me, like. So I'm just saying that this is one of the like challenging for the parents when they come from like back home and they're trying to integrate to this culture, and they see their children is growing up, and then the communication gets bad. So yeah, this is one of the challenge like I wanted to talk about, which I thought is important. And then next, I think Deborati Chakra, right? Deborati Chakra, are you available? She has mute. I don't know if she's okay. What about this Zubda?
I think Serene Qureshi has
Serene,
just
yeah.
Serene?
Serene Qureshi has a hand up for a long
Okay,
time.
yes, yes, yeah, Serene Qureshi. Yeah, go ahead.
So I want to make sure everybody goes because I'm definitely learning a lot. I mean, I come from a child's, expectations because I was even first generation Canadian, born in Canada, and each generation in my family, they're all like South Asian, but each from a different country even. So honestly, growing up, it wasn't even that challenging because my family we were very close to each other. I mean, most of the parties we had were family parties or even family friend parties. So we didn't even get to engage so much with other kids, even in school. So I think in that way, even like we learned so much from our parents. But it's actually when I became an adult is when I started appreciating my culture even more and even my family more because when you grow up and you go independent and you miss your mom's food, you miss having so many people around, even like you never even get that time by yourself when you're with family, right? But when you move out on your own, you're like, that's all you have, right? So you do want to visit the family, you do want to even, know what's going on. But I think, first of all, a lot of people say there's a cultural shock too because kids are born here and their parents are from somewhere else. But even from the ages of 3 to 8, I even lived in Pakistan, so I started school there. And, I never got to be an adult in Pakistan, but I do still remember it and I do appreciate that time. I mean, I think I even had the best childhood because the food was awesome. Even the environment was so beautiful and everything. And I even loved the house we were living in. But nowadays, I really don't feel safe even going back home because even my family is very big on arranged marriage, and I just don't want to get into it. But the thing is, too, is I miss it, and I think that culture is definitely something that's very rooted in me. It's something very deep in me, like that I can never get rid of it. It's just something that is me. And I think that that's where my values come from. That's where how I live my life, and that's how I guide myself too. Because I think even if we're in another country, we still go by a lot of the things that our parents has taught us, and even what they've even been through and the experiences, because I definitely take other people's experiences to heart, because I'm like, you can get the lessons without the trials, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful thing to have culture in your life, because most people, like, they only even know one language, and I even know like English, Urdu, Hindi, Punjabi, and when they even ask me to learn French, I'm like, so I have to learn a fifth language now. So, but the point is, I do enjoy even languages and even cultures and experiences and even hearing from people. But I think that my parents too, they're even more traditional than what Pakistan is now. Like, they came in the 70s, and like even my siblings married people from back home, and when they even came here, I feel like they were even more modern than my parents. And I think that in every place that things do go on, but sometimes we're stuck in a certain time frame too, and we have to learn that even where we're from is changing and is evolving. And I think that we're not that different around the world. I just think it's our way of thinking is what actually makes us, even live the life we do, and even try to teach other people that we do know. So I think that, we have to understand too what is going on now in the world too, not just where we're from or what we were brought up in, but, even what the world has to offer too now, even like whether it's like not only just like family and culture, but also technology and what's out there and what's even available for accessibility, right? So I also want to say that I've also done a paralegal certificate at Humber
Oh,
College too.
really? Okay, nice to hear. I'm so
Yeah,
happy
and
to
I'm
hear.
looking for a job too, so I would love to work with
Um,
you too,
no,
Fawzia.
no,
So
like we can talk in person. You can, I'll be happy to help you, like however I can, because I like helping people. So then
yeah,
it'll be nice to
I can
connect
get
with
you.
you later. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
connect later. Uzma
mm,
auntie will give you my number, and then you can call me and we'll connect and talk one day, right?
for sure.
Um,
It's a very interesting topic too, because like there's that culture shock, because we
mhm.
don't realize it, right? Like even us kids of these first
See, the,
generation.
the thing is, the good thing is that your parents, like I feel also when I was in Europe for 10 years, like my parents, I also had a very close connection with my parents. And the other thing is that my parents were not only focusing on our culture, my
Mhm.
parents were like open up and respecting other cultures. So we had friends from Pakistan, we had from like Iraq, like Iran, like like where we were, they're all like international students. So what I'm trying to say is that Swedish people, they would say, okay, I want to taste your food, it's spicy, I cannot eat. Like they wanted to know about our culture, they want to know about our religion. So like usually what parents when they come here, they bring their culture. So what I'm trying to say that is how you teach your children, how you integrate. But what we are missing is we are not trying to understand why our children are becoming how they're becoming, because we cannot expect them. The expectation of the parents are, this is how I was, this is what I did back home, this is how you should do here. Like so the way you are talking about, for example, you're talking about the arranged marriage, like there's so many topics we can talk about. Like
Yeah.
some of the parents think that, okay, now you're ready to get married, you should get
But I,
married.
I don't think it's a bad thing, arranged
No, no,
marriage
I mean
or
that like
friends, but
that,
like not speaking
they
arranging it
just there
beforehand.
are some, like I had my dad, he helps a lot of people personally. So there was like a daughter who was forced to get married in young age, but she didn't want to. So the parents were talking to my dad. My dad said, you cannot force someone, give her time. Like, try to understand her, where she's coming from. So what I'm trying to say, there are a lot of culture things that we have back when we want to like integrate our child, but we don't try to understand where they're coming from, why they are the way they are. So that's why it's very important that you connect with your children. So thank you so much for sharing, I really appreciate it. And like it was really nice. I'm sorry that I did not see you raising your hand. Like I'm just following I'm
Yeah,
just
I
following
appreciate
the
your
the
openness.
what do you call list who is after.
Yeah.
So I'm just checking the next, I think. Oh, you want to say something, Kawaljeet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our discussion is now concentrated on the children versus parents,
Mm-hmm.
uh, lightly. So here are two questions.
No, it's not verses. It's not verses. You grow up to even understand your parents better, is what
Yeah, let me say, you're very right. So I would like to know about here that one is that we are passing through the generation gap.
Mm-hmm.
It is generally said that we were listening to our parents and now we are guided by our children. So we are sandwiched between the two generations. This is one aspect. And second is whenever we say our children something to do like this, they we have to listen that I don't care. If we say that this is not good for you, even politely when we say that this is not good for you, but other people will say we are from this culture, we should not do like that. The prompt reply is that I don't care. Whatever they say, I don't care. So these are very peculiar questions we the present generation we are facing. Though we belong to the past generation or what
So
we
what
are
I will
passing through.
do, I'll talk to
My
Mhm.
particular question is
Mhm.
that whether we should instruct or talk to our children that this is our culture and you are to follow this, or let them go as they know in whichever culture they are passing through.
See, the thing is that Kamal Gigi, what you have to understand is that when we explain to our kids or whoever, like we about our culture, we cannot force them to believe and do what we are saying. We can say this is how we used to do. I would be happy if you do it this way. You won't believe. Like my mom used to tell me a lot of stuff, which was like, I think what's her name again? Who spoke earlier? Siren, right? Siren. So
Siren.
Siren, sorry. So she told me, she said one thing that I felt a similarity with her. So before we are married, we are with our parents. Our parents, my mom said, do this, do that. But now when I'm independent, now I realize, oh my God, now I know why mom taught me this. Now I know why mom wanted me to follow the culture. Like like there is a stage, like if I would tell my 12-year-old daughter about the culture, she would listen to me, but she would not pay attention. But if she would be like married or 25 or 30, she'd be like, oh my God, now I know why my mom said this when she said it. So we cannot enforce culture in them, but we can teach them and we can show them. Whether they will adopt it or not, then you will know later whether they're
And
adopting your culture. So as a parents, we always do our best. If anyone says something to you, you could not teach manners to your child. What kind of mother you should not be disappointed, but because they don't know where you're raising your child,
And
you
I have
know.
to say, it's very important to even teach your children, like that they know, because you
Mhm.
never know when it's gonna, come in hand and when they need to even know that stuff. So I think it's really valuable too to even teach and let the kids understand you and even, be able to even access that whenever they need it. So it's
And
important.
whenever, like, because I was mixed with many culture, it was easy for me to understand this is my culture, this is how I should follow. Sometimes when you are with the same culture, like with the same, like it's hard to understand what culture is. But when you go like with the way I told you, I was like with Middle Eastern people, European people, Asian people, African people, so I was mixed with everyone. It was easy for me to understand this is how our culture is and this is how we do it. So because we are having this conversation, so what the one I want to talk about, that how does culture influence behavior and communication, right? So communication is the key in everything that you do. Communication is a cornerstone of our society. It helps us to build meaningful personal relationships, right? Share ideas and create strong organizations. And then also the way we communicate is influenced greatly by culture. Like how the way sometimes you can talk like with your gesture. You can just smile. Like someone need help. Like I see someone is walking, I don't know their language. They say no English, and then I just like try to help. I just say help, and I just maybe the person, like there's an old lady walking, and one day she was walking, and then I felt bad, and she speak Punjabi. I do understand Punjabi. I told her that, do you need help? I was helping her to carry stuff. We did not understand each other, but I was trying to help her. So I'm just giving an example that, like even though with gesture, like you can communicate with a smile. People, your a facial expression, like you can see if you're angry, you're upset, or you will feel if this person is welcoming you or this person is like not welcoming you, right? So there's a cultural difference such as language, words, gesture can have a huge impact on how people communicate. It's like two ships passing in the night. So culture can also be a bridge between people. By understanding the culture of another person, culture or group, it is easier to connect and interact with each other. What I have seen my community, who are like here, the Bengali community, some of them, they just want to be within their community. They don't want to know other communities. I think it's better to know other communities because you learn about other cultures and you learn like more about people, different food, like the different dance. like I think it's very like interesting. So you should like integrate with other culture, then you will your I think your mind and your thinking will be more broad, because when you don't associate with other people, you don't communicate, you just think straight and you think this is how my culture is, this is where I should be. So I think it's very important that we, you know, we learn about other people's culture. And culture has an immense effect on it shapes how we talk to one another, as I said earlier, what kind of language we use, and what kind of communication are considered appropriate. This is especially true in like business setting, values, like, you know, decision making process, right? And now what I wanted to ask you is that I think Shirin was telling me that you like learning languages, right? You know how you
Yeah.
said that you would love to learn languages, you know. So what I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you all, have you ever experienced a time where you had to deal with someone but you don't know their language? They're coming and talking to you, or you want to
Oh,
help them, but
everybody knows Hindi. I can say that because I was volunteering at a hospital, St. Joseph's, and I was at the entrance, and I was sitting there, and this lady came, Indian lady. So we started talking in Hindi, and after her ride came and she left, and there was a man across like near the entrance, right? He came up to me. He was a Chinese-looking man, and he came
Mhm.
up to me and he was like, "Do you speak Hindi?" And I'm like, "Why is a Chinese man asking me if I know Hindi?" So I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And he started speaking in Hindi. And I said, "How do you know Hindi?" And he was like, "Oh, because he's Tibetan, you know, because a lot of the Tibetan people moved with the Dalai Lama to India. They're even born there, even educated there." So I'm like, oh, "Okay." And then he goes, he has an appointment and he would left it if I interpret because his interpreter is late. So it's not a part of my job description, but if you want me to, okay. So I was able to do a good job, and he thanked me afterwards. But it was like that was the first person I met outside our culture that knew Hindi. And then even like when I was volunteering at the MP's office in my area, even one guy who was like Caucasian, like white as snow, right? Like he was even telling me he knows Hindi because he married an Indian girl and lived in India even for 5 years. And
Mhm.
then later on, I think I even met somebody in the mall, and like I think, well, he's like African American, right? So even he started singing a Bollywood song to me. I was like, oh my god, they all know. I'm like, just forget it. And it's also fun too to be sitting on a bus too, and like people around you are talking Hindi and they don't realize you understand. So,
Yeah. And then anyone else would like to share?
yeah.
Anyone else? Okay.
Oh,
Um, the funniest thing that happened to me, I just want to share, is like, so my mom and dad, they are okay, so we are from Chittagong, where they speak like a dialect, right? It's called Chadgaya. So that dialect is came from Burma. So my parents speak that language, so I understand. I also know how to speak because I used to speak with my grandmother. So when I went to the village, they were talking in that language, and they were talking about like, you know, like our me and my sisters, like who is tall, who is dark, you know, like who is what. Like they're just talking about us, and then like we speak Swedish, so they would not understand our language, and then we were just laughing, and I really enjoyed, like, because they don't know we understand the language, and I can understand every single thing they're telling about us. So that's what I'm saying, like some people, like even like my daughter, she doesn't understand, she understand Bengali, but she doesn't talk Bengali. So sometime when I say something, she say, "Mommy, I know what you're saying." Like, so that's what I'm saying, the language, like language is very interesting, because like I think they're connected with each other, because Sanskrit from there, like, you know, Hindi and Bengali
yeah,
came.
similar
And then
word.
I think the other languages, like, you know, Urdu, they have like Farsi in Urdu, and the way they write is like Arabic. Like, you know, it's really like beautiful. So I think all the really not the, I think the culture is connected also through languages, how they are. So like in Scandinavia, I know how to speak Swedish. If you know, you will understand Norwegian and Danish. So like that's why it's very interesting how so that's why if you have the communication, like sometimes people have misunderstanding with the culture, like when they cannot communicate with each other. So have you ever faced any time where because of the culture and because of the language, you're having problem with that person? You're trying to say something that, but they're misunderstanding about something else. Have you ever faced that in your life?
I don't think I've had communication problems, but one time we went to a trip in Ottawa with our university, And we got a visit from this ambassador who was an ambassador for 30 years. And he just retired. And he would just look at the student and start speaking their language. Like 30 people in the room. He knew everybody's like background language. But he got everybody right. But when he came to me, he started speaking Arabic. And I'm like, no, that's not me, sir. And he's like, where are you from? I'm like, my parents are Pakistani. So then he starts speaking Urdu from me. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm like, he knows all the languages. It's crazy. But you never know who knows what nowadays. And
So,
I've never had that issue with communication because everywhere I went, whether like I even been to other religious places like mandir and gurdwara and a church, and I knew the languages, so felt very welcome too. And like like I knew the Punjabi, I knew the Hindi, I knew the English, so it wasn't a problem even making friends there. So it was awesome.
So, how does culture affect? Thank you so much for letting me know, because I think I was just asking others. I think they did not experience that. But how does culture affect your attitude and moral behavior, right? Culture has a profound influence on human behavior. It shapes our values, like we discussed earlier, beliefs and norms, which in turn guide our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Sometimes the way you think is because your culture is like that's how they think in your culture, and you start thinking that way because there's a way, like the culture, like people follow the norms and values, which I think she was giving a really good explanation, Kawalji, right? You're talking about the norms and values. So some ways the culture can impact social behavior and interaction, right? Communication, different cultural may have different communication style. For example, in France, they think to communicate, you need to you kiss in each other's cheek or you give a hug. But we don't do that in our Asian culture. We are like, no, like we just like, how you bow down and just like, you just say assalamu alaikum or namaste. Like, like there's different way, they do that. So, and then the other thing is that, like sometime like when you look at the culture, what I do is that whenever someone behave the way they behave, I want to know why they're behaving that way. I feel that they're strange, but then I try to understand where they're coming from. This is something that we are missing in our like personality. We judge people based on what we see, but not thinking where they're coming from. So if someone act the way they act, and I try to explain that to whoever like has problem, I say they're coming from this place. That's why, like for example, a parent, like a children is coming to me, say my mom and doing this to me, or my dad, I can't believe it. And I say you have to understand where they're coming from. Like this is how they think. Maybe if you're in their generation, you think like this. You should try to understand, and then try to make them understand why you feel the way you feel, right? So this is one thing that we are having issue with, that we judge people without knowing where they're coming from and why they're acting the way they're acting. Then when I explain, then sometimes they're like, oh my god, this is what they do in their culture. I'm like, yeah, this is how they do it. So that's why they're acting that way. So you have to understand, you know so so have you guys experienced any time in your life where yeah, Shanta?
Shanta
Yes.
ji.
I just want to say what you said just now. We, human being as such, we have our own perception, and we put each person in a cubby hole, saying, oh, if he is South Indian, he must be like this. If he is a North Indian, he must be like this, without seeing why he's doing that, and without even understanding the person. We don't try to understand the person. We just assumption that he must be doing that because he comes from this background. Just for an example, recently I read a article in the newspaper saying that African black people are caught by police more often than you and me. Why? Because that's the perception. Just because you're black, you must be a bad guy. That person must be very educated and very well this thing. Just because appearance, people have just put him in the cubby hole saying that, oh, he must be bad, or that kind of a thing. That perception changes the behavior of when you see somebody. Your own perception, preconceived perception, I would say. Preconceived a perception of a certain race, or like If the woman is dressing up like a man, oh, look at her, she's dressing up like a man. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah,
That kind of thing. You have preconceived ideas in your mind. So with that, your behavior also changes.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So depending on that, like we have we have the habit of holding the hands like this when we are talking. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we are not afraid or anything like that. Just because your hands are not down doesn't mean you're not confident enough. But
Mhm.
in Western culture, if you stand like this, you're a closed person. You're not confident enough to talk. That's what they say. A few of my friends say that. Why are you standing like that? You're a confident person. Why do you do that? I said,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
that comes from the culture also, I think. I don't
Mhm.
know. If
Yeah.
you notice, now, if you go out and notice, South Asian people, usually men also stand like this. They don't put
Mhm.
their hands in the pocket and stand like this when they're talking to people.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, and I think she is Cyrene, right? She was
Siren,
Cyrene,
siren. Yeah.
Cyrene, yeah.
So for me, like I know when now that I'm in politics, like I volunteer here and there, and I realized too that the French culture and the South Asian culture are totally opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like South Asians, you're like you don't even shake hands, you're no touching, like you're very like reserved, right? Whereas the French, they're so forward and the way
Mm-hmm.
they meet you and they like the things that they want to do is like totally against you in my culture. So, but I just found it was interesting too because I talked to us my supervisor who was French too. And she's like, yeah, she even hugs and kisses her uncle and this and that. I'm like, no, we don't. Like that's not something that's we do. It's like something that's too much. And I think that even though, it might be your culture, it doesn't mean we have to accept that. We can still speak up. We can still address how we feel about things because there are
Mm-hmm.
some things that are allowed and some things that are not. So I think that, it was interesting too in politics how it was always men even kissing women on the cheek kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I didn't allow that. But basically, I was doing security work and I saw these two men even kiss on the cheek on the
Mm-hmm.
camera. I asked him later on, I'm like, what's going on? Like, I've always seen men kiss women, but now it's like men and men. So he goes, because of they're from Jordan, and in that culture, even men kiss on the cheeks. So I was like,
Yeah.
I was surprised to even see that because I'm like, I thought people always kiss the women, but yeah.
No, in
It's
Arabic culture, men kiss men on the cheek, like even in Arabia or maybe Lebanon.
yeah.
Yes.
Like I never thought that was even possible, but when I saw it on the camera, I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's interesting to see what people do, and it's like what are you willing to do too, not just what people are gonna do to you. So you gotta address how comfortable you are with things, and like know what people are doing, and try to understand them too, but let them understand who you are too. So I think that's where culture kicks in, and we have to know each other's culture too, not just ourselves. So it's important to share that too, not just keep it to yourself because it's who
So
you are.
only when you interact, because only when you interact with other culture, like other people, you learn. Your mind gets like, oh, they're doing this because you saw it, you wanted to know, but you're not judging them, right? So the
Yeah.
way Miss Shanta told that we have the perception, we judge, like we have like, oh, this is how the black people are, this is how Indians are, this is how Bengalis are, like they always have that perception, and which is wrong. So, but what I'm just saying that like if you meet like I'm thankful to my dad, especially because he's a professor, like, and my mom as well. Um, like I have been, if because I'm working, I diversifies myself. I only don't have Bengali clients. I have like Arabic client, European client, African client, all kinds. So because I have was exposed to different culture, it's easy for me to know how to talk to them, how to approach to them, and they feel comfortable. Not only my own culture feels it, that's why how to communicate, like communication in culture is very important. But what's happening now, like new generation, like my daughters or like the young generation, they start like talking to other cultures, they're growing. But there are some culture like my aunt, they came many years ago, they're only within themselves, within they're confined within their culture, they don't want to know the other culture. So when you don't know that, I think you're closing your mind, you're within, so then you don't know like oh my God, these men are kissing. How could they do that? Astaghfirullah.
No,
They
no,
don't
I'm
talk
not
like that.
against it or
No, no,
anything.
I'm just saying that like a
I never
person
thought
who,
that. Yeah.
no, I'm saying a person who doesn't know the culture, they'll start talking like that. But you wanted to know why they're doing that. Then you found out is a culture. And then in the culture, they do this. What I'm trying to say that instead of having that assumption and putting that, we should actually like try to find out where they're coming from. That's what I'm trying to say. And you did that. So a lot of people, they don't do that, you know?
No, I'm very open-minded too, because I know that people have different ways and different, the
So
way
you
that they
become
live. And
open-minded when you meet other people, when you want
well,
to
you gotta
know.
keep an open mind, because, like, especially if you
Mm.
want to work with so many people, right? You have to
When
understand.
you want to gain
And
knowledge.
yeah, make sure that they understand where you're coming from too. For sure, it's both ways, I think. And you're
Yeah,
right,
yeah, yeah.
communication is key, because when we communicate, we're not trying to offend anybody. It's just the way we are, right? So yeah.
Mm. So now, so what is it like? The other question I want to ask, like, when you want to feel your culture, is there anything specifically you do? Any like, how, for example, like,
Yeah, I think Shantaji has a comment before she wants to go.
yeah, Shantaji,
No,
yes.
no, you're talking about culture and assumption. I'll just give you an example of. I have a friend. Much friend means she's a lot younger to me. Lot younger than my daughter, and she's from Bangladesh. And I invited her for lunch, and I thought, oh, Bengali. So I made only fish dishes. I had no idea that she was totally vegetarian. She said, Dida. She calls me Dida. Dida, I'm vegetarian. Didn't you know that? But luckily, I had vegetarian food. So that's what I'm saying. I assumed that just because she's from Bangladesh, she fish lover, she'll eat only fish. So that's what you have to keep an open. I learned from that my mistake. That after that, anytime I invite anybody, I ask them, "What kind of food do you eat?" Some people you think they're from South, they like only South Indian food. No, they might want to eat something different. So just talking about the topic. Thank you very much for Fawzia. I have to go 5:30. I have to leave.
Okay. Thank you so much. It
Excellent
was nice
session.
having you. It was really nice having you, Miss
Thank
Shantaji.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays to you too.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask is like, do you do anything in your life to feel that you are doing something with your culture? Like, for example, I think Somdata, how she's expressing like the emotion for a woman because through her dances, because it's like in a way it's like a culture, like so do you do anything
Oh, yeah.
in your life that you feel that, okay, you know what, this is connected to my culture and I like doing something that you have been liking doing since you have been growing up? Yeah.
I do dancing, music,
All right, great. Wow.
all the time. Even culture from Bengali culture, I do Robindra Sangeet, Nitya Natto,
Oh,
dance
really? Wow.
dramas. Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I
that's
do
really
that.
great.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
definitely.
great. I used to do that when I was small. I don't do this
No,
anymore.
I do that even now. When I'm older, I'm doing more. I have more
Oh,
time.
really?
So
Oh,
I do.
wow. That's really good. Nice to hear. Anyone else
Thank
wants
you.
to share? Yeah, Kamaljeet.
Shazia
Yes.
has. Ji,
Um,
ji,
okay.
Kamalji.
Hello?
Okay.
Can you hear
We
me?
were talking about the food. I represent to the Punjabi community and Punjabi culture. So one thing what I am right now doing is after retirement from my professorship, I have studied economics, and throughout I was having English medium as a medium of instruction. But after retirement, what I'm doing is that since I'm from Punjab, Punjabi, and Punjabiyat, I have to protect it. Now I'm writing for the newspaper or for the journals in Punjabi, one thing. And second, though right now I'm in US, but I'm wearing my Indian Punjabi dress with the salwar kameez and with dupatta. Right now I'm not having dupatta because I'm sitting at home. But while I'm going outside, I make it a point that I'm not, though I'm wrong. I admit that I might be wrong, but I would admit over here that I make it a point to wear the salwar kameez with dupatta. One thing. And third, related with my food. In my kitchen, I make Punjabi food, Indian food. And I must give you the example over here. During my work, at my workplace, our friend was from UP. And we generally used to invite our friends to our dinner or at lunch. And they were from the UP. What they used to say me that, Kamal, you prepare very good rajma and rice. And she used to say a phrase, जिसकी बंदरिया वही नचाए, means we Punjabi make a very good dal and very good rice and rajma. What she used to say was in UP. I'm sharing it with my experience with you is that she used to say that when we cook dal or rajma, we just take a big spoon, add a little bit ghee, oil, then add हिंग जीरा और राई, दैट इज जिसको कहते हैं कि तड़का छोंकना. But I used to say that Punjabi food is a very rich food. Lot of makhni, lot of ghee, lot of spices, all these are there. So
Yeah.
I now I'm practicing my Punjabi culture, and they have different culture, different attitude, but attitude is, you were talking about the culture. Culture can be bifurcated, that whether you are to adjust with the culture or you have to do the arrangement, or you can say to enforce your culture. In between the path, if we are to live here, we should adopt the in between path. When you are to adjust, go for adjusting. When you are to enforce, then go for that. We should not be as rigid, since we come from the community which is, we can say that we are well educated. If well educated personalities cannot adjust and arrange with the other communities, with the other masses, then no use of empowering ourselves, no use of getting higher education ourselves. We should have the capacity to adjust with the other cultures if we want to grow in our life.
Yeah,
This
thank
is
you
my
so much.
submission.
I do agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing. And Mr. Madan, are you there? Madan,
Madan.
Madan.
Madan. Yeah, is he there? Hello?
He's there, but Shazia has raised her hand
Yes,
for
I
a long
am.
time as
Oh, Sajia, where is Sajia?
well.
Madan
Shazia.
ji is
Can
also.
you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can see. I could not see you. Okay, after Sajia, then Madan sir can talk, right? We'll start with Sajia then. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Right. Islam.
Yeah, so for my culture again, I wear hijab like you, one thing. And then another thing I do, I match single people,
Okay.
get them married. Yeah, so that's like in our culture, get them married. So I try to help all single people here because
Okay.
it's hard, in this country.
Yes, 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 yes.
Find,
That's yeah. Thank you so much for helping people. That's really good.
yeah. What do you do?
Me?
Yeah.
Um. Okay. I think like I'm gonna introduce about myself. I'm a paralegal. So
Oh,
I have my own business I'm running. I run New Legal Services Professional Corporation, where I help people who get into car accident.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I do. And then on the side, I also like the way I'm doing workshop, and then I'm also a conflict coach. So I have two profession. I'm a paralegal and I'm also a conflict coach.
so did Shazia mean that what do you do to represent the culture?
Oh, you're talking about the culture or just like myself?
You wanted the answer to your question. Is that so, Shazia?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you're
Shazia,
talking how I further myself with the culture. Is that what you're asking?
No, no, I just in general, I ask, like, what's your profession?
Okay.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
wanted to ask my profession. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, if you want to talk to me later, I would be happy to do so. Like you can get my number from Uzmanti, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And then yeah, Madan sir, like yeah, I'm so sorry. Like I haven't asked you. Like, is anything you want to share with us? Like how you deal with the culture?
Thank you, Fawzia. I have listened to you before and I have met you before as well. You
Thank
talk
you.
about this culture, communication, and how it's affecting each other.
Mm-hmm.
It does at
Yeah.
every step of our life. Like I will mention my message there. Looking at you, I can tell you you look different from other people here on the screen. That's
Mm-hmm.
part of your culture.
Okay.
That is part of your culture. If I look at other
Yes.
people, I can't tell who are they. I can't tell Sabia if she is a Muslim or not. I can't tell. I can't tell Kamaljit if she is a Sikh, Muslim, Hindu. I can't tell. I can't tell anybody. I can't tell even Sareen. But I can tell you you are different.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What is that difference is? Your appearance, your
Yes.
culture value, what you have, making other person to know that this person is different than the other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to know more about you, how to talk to you. If I'm a Punjabi, I know how to talk to Kamaljit because
Mm-hmm.
she's Punjabi.
Yes.
Yes.
But you are from a different faith.
Mm-hmm.
With a different faith, same word I say to Kamaljit may be insulting you.
Okay.
Same word I say to Kamaljit maybe
Mm-hmm.
insult you because I don't know how to say to you that word,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Kamaljit, I maybe shake hand, but I may be not able to shake hand with you. I'm just saying maybe, right?
Yes.
So to communicate properly to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
understand where that person come from, what are their values. Same like some people say, okay, the men they shake hand with the elbow, some
Yeah.
hug. Many
Mm-hmm.
many Middle Eastern people they hug.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't hug their ladies, but they hug men's.
Yeah.
As a lady is hugging another lady.
Mm-hmm.
But many other cultures, they just say from distance, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Now,
Um,
to understand the
so one of the
effectiveness of
things,
communication will make a difference.
so
Thank you
there's
very
one
much.
thing that I did not talk about where I think respect, which is very important, in any relationship, right? Like respect, it could be with your with my assistant that I'm working with, respect with parents, respect with children. So one of the, how Mr. Madan said that like anything, I would take it wrong if because he would not know how to explain it to me. But then like if I did not understand what he would say, I would try to respect him because he's elder than me, and I would try to understand what he's trying to say. Because sometimes a lot of people don't have that patience and they don't try to understand where they're coming from, why they're saying the way they're saying. So that's why respect is one of the things. We have to respect other culture, even though there are some culture that my own culture that like I don't agree. Like I tell my husband, like I don't understand what kind of culture this is, I don't agree, right? I'll just give an example. In our culture they have that you have to touch feet when you meet someone, you're not hugging. It's like a respect. If someone is elder than you, you touch their feet, like you bow down and touch their feet. I really don't like that culture, but I respect the culture because it's a culture, right? So when someone does it, I'm okay, but I ask my husband not to allow me to do it because I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I will hug or something like that, but I don't want to touch feet. But I just want you to I'm respecting. If you want, you can do it, but you have to respect my feeling that I don't want to. So that's something. There's some stuff in culture that I do not agree, and I think we all are in this. We all do have those norms, but most important is that we should not judge, and we should not we should respect other people's culture and our own culture, even though we don't like. And then we should not judge people based on their culture, where they're coming from. Like if we do that, then we will be able to have we were to grow our mind, make our mind broad. So one of the reason why we are not being able to make our mind broad is because we confine ourselves, and like the way, what's her name again, Miss I think she left, right? I forgot her name. She said,
Tanya.
yeah, she said that we always like have the we always have the conception, or this is how, like, you know, black people are the one who always go in jail, but which is not true. Or like she was talking about the fish, oh, she's Bengali, she only eat fish. That's not how it is. So we have that conception. We have to get out of there, that if we do that, then we will be able to grow. And we also have, like Cyrene said, we also need to try to understand other people's culture, and then try to understand, like, you know, where they're coming from, instead of judging them. Try to find out why they're doing the way they whatever they're doing. There is a reason behind it. So these are the things that this is how I learned about other people's culture, and like it helped me a lot. That's why I can connect with, because of that, my multilingual and my multicultural experience, I can connect with anyone. And then I'm really happy to do so, because I love culture. I love tasting the food. Like, you know how you have different kind of food, like, you know, Chinese food, Indian food, Bengali food, like all kind of food. And then, like, you know, seeing what kind of music. I listen to Arabic music, like Urdu, Hindi, Bengali, English, like, you know. So that's what I'm saying, that like we all are doing the same thing, but in a different way. So when we have that respect for each other, we will be able to grow. That's what I believe.
So Fawzia, आप कह रही हैं कि डाइवर्सिटी को इंक्लूड करना चाहिए.
एग्जैक्टली जब आप करेंगे डाइवर्सिटी को, जब आप इम्प्रूव करेंगे, फिर आपका माइंड और ब्रॉड होगा, राइट? तो मैं जब व्हेन आई वाज इन लाइक स्वीडन, in Europe, they try to understand me, the Swedish people, why I'm doing the way I do, why I'm acting the way I'm acting, but they respected me for who I was, right? They did not disrespect me. Like, even though I started wearing hijab when I was in grade 3, so they did not say, give me 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. So, you know, so that's why I'm just saying that we have to like work on that. Like, we have to diversify ourselves and try to respect other people's religion and culture. So when you know about the culture more, then you will understand where they're coming from.
Okay, I have before Siren, I'm going to ask a question. It's not a question, it's a comment kind of a thing. A comment है basically. मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि when हम जब वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में आते हैं, तो हम एक्सेप्ट करते हैं, हम अपनी कंट्रीज में मे बी वो कल्चर नहीं देखते जो हम वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज में देखते हैं, लेकिन जब हम आते हैं इधर तो वी एक्सेप्ट, राइट? लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल बैक होम में men not kissing women on the cheek for greeting, we don't do that. But when we come to the western countries, we accept it that they do it, that's okay. How come the westerners, they don't accept what we are wearing? If you're wearing too much of hijab, you're wearing too much of dupatta, wearing an Indian suit, they're like, ये अपना culture लेके आ गई है. So if हम this is a multicultural country, number one. Number two, अगर हम आपका culture accept कर रहे हैं और respect कर रहे हैं, then again फौजिया की वाली बात, तो आपका भी काम बनता है कि कहीं ना कहीं जिस भी रिलीजन कल्चर से हम आए हैं, आप भी थोड़ी रिस्पेक्ट दे दें. इट्स ओके अगर ये पूरे कपड़े पहन रहे हैं, लॉन्ग शर्ट्स पहन रहे हैं, they don't want to shake hands, that's okay, doesn't really make a difference. जी कवलजीत जी आपसे.
हाँ, सोबे मैं एक ऐड करना चाहती हूँ कि मेरा ख्याल है कि ये जो अदर वे राउंड नहीं होता है ना, जब दिस इज रिलेटेड विद द माइग्रेशन. whenever people are migrating from the Asian countries to the Western countries, specifically to the America and Canada or other European countries, the first thing people do is to adopt their culture. And first thing they do is dressing, how to dress up. Then they adopt their language, and then they go for the changing their food. So what I mean to say is कि पूरे का पूरा कल्चर ड्रेस होने का, बोलचाल का और खाने पीने का, we 100%, almost 100% we adopt their culture. But Here the mentality is working over here, that why the English people or the Western communities, they are not adopting our culture, or they look down upon our culture कि आपने हिजाब क्यों पहना है, आपने ये सूट क्यों पहना है, क्योंकि ये colonial mentality से निकलता है.
ठीक है,
Asian
अडॉप्ट तो बहुत दूर की बात है. आई लाइक रिस्पेक्ट ही कर लेना. देर लाइक कि हाँ ये
हाँ
बैकवर्ड है. व्हाई आर वी बैकवर्ड? दैट्स अ कल्चरल थिंग. ये
हाँ
बैकवर्डनेस नहीं है, ये तो कल्चर.
बैकवर्ड
या
हाँ बैकवर्डनेस नहीं है, लेकिन वो कॉलोनियल जो पहले 200 साल 300 साल रहा है ना, वो ना तो हमारे दिमाग से जा रहा है, और यहाँ से ये जो सुपीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स है ना, कि ये गोरा है तो हम काले हैं, है ना, तो या ब्राउन है, जो ये मेंटेलिटी है ना, ये दिमाग से जितनी देर तक सोच नहीं निकलती, तब तक ये सुपीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स और इंफीरियरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स रहेगा. दैट इज द रीजन व्हाई आई सेड दैट वो कनाडा में बच्चे जाते हैं, या वो अमेरिका में जाते हैं, और वो इवन ऑस्ट्रेलिया में भी जाते हैं, सबसे पहले वो अपना कल्चर को चेंज करते हैं.
बिल्कुल. साइरीन काफी देर से हाथ रेस किया हुआ है. और
हाँ.
हाँ, जी सर.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, I think, culture and even where you live is so important because you got to see who the people are in power and what are their values, what they even allow us to do as people, because I personally, like, whenever I've worn my Indian clothes, and like, I've always got good comments, and even when I went to political events, even the leaders, they want a picture with me first. So I was like a good experience to even like showcase my culture and my fashion. But I think even I wore my Indian clothes to school at college, and this one guy even said, like, wow, it's so beautiful. Like you're not even revealing, and yet it's so like exquisite. Like he just loved what I was wearing, even though it was like shalwar kameez and stuff like that. But like it just goes to shows that it depends on where you are and how much people do they even know about your culture, and how much are you willing to even teach them and educate them. So I think for me, I just love the Indian culture because I even watch the Bollywood films, even listen to music, even eat Indian food, and I honestly feel like I'm the best dressed when I'm in my like lehengas and shalwar kameez and saris and all of that. And I even have jobs too where like if I do background work, sometimes they even ask for the Indian clothes and they pay you extra for that, just for wearing the Indian clothes. So I think there are some people that are opening up to the ideas of showcasing other cultures and accepting and even admiring and appreciating. So it depends on where you are in the world too, right? Because you never know, like, what people even like, for example, like the whole niqab debate too that was happening, like, and now when the pandemic happened, everybody's wearing a mask, right? I'm like, isn't everybody just wearing a niqab now? So but honestly, I don't really have anything to say about niqab much, but I just feel like, sharing my culture has always been a positive experience for me, especially being here in Canada. And I think that the more the leaders even adopt that way of thinking, is the more the way the people are going to change too. So I think it does come from up there and it trickles down, but I think we can also be a part of that and even showcase ourselves, what we are and who we want to be.
Thank you so much, Sirin. What I want to say that like when I was in Europe, I only once I experienced like some guys were like, so when they have like March, when they have like what do you call those, like that, those like rabbits and eggs, like they have the Easter holiday, so they have like a, they have someone wearing like this and then tie it, and they used to go around and get candies in Europe, right? This is the culture thing they had. So like when I was small in grade, I think 5 or 6, there were some guys, they would make fun of me and my sister. We are wearing this, and then one day they were playing basketball, we joined them, we start playing, then they saw that we are not different than them, we are the same. The only difference is that I have my own religion, I have my own culture, they have their own culture. And then after they start knowing us, the respect that I got, and they even apologize. They're like, we are sorry the way we treated you. You're such a nice person. So I believe whoever you are, if you want them to know who you are as a culture, religion, anything, is how you behave and how you act with them. I could have been like angry at them, say what kind of person you are, you guys are racist. I did not act that way, but I wanted them to know who I am. And then like I also had a lot of like friends, they love me for who I am because of my culture. They want to taste my food. They even want to try seller kamis, and we used to give them gift. They used to be so happy. Any like gift we give, like the churia, like where we give it to them, and they're like, oh my god, this is so nice, and you wear those bangles. So there are people that actually
Yeah.
who's
Now you
accept.
reminded me of my high school life. There were some challenges for me too, but I feel like we always have to prove ourselves. It is an uphill battle, but I think we do get our message across too. The
Yeah,
more true we are to our own culture is the way people will see it too then.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying, like how you react like actually gives, like instead of calling them names and stuff, show them who you are, and whether they accept it or not, like you will know. So I went through both, so that's what I'm saying, that like I understand what Mr. Miss Kawanjil is talking about, but anyone who actually did anything towards me because of my culture, I proved to them and I showed them this is not how it is. We are the same person. We are just having different culture and different religion. And then
I mean,
some
we
people
shouldn't have
understand right away, some people take time. Yeah, sorry, Saren, you want to say
No, we
something?
shouldn't have to do that, but I mean, the fact that we can even get that across to them, it just goes to show how true we are to ourselves. So, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone have any question? I'm sorry, I know that we have 10 minutes. I think like I'm really enjoying the conversation I'm having with everyone, and like like Miss Kamalji, Siren, and like everyone in this
Really
group,
enjoyed. Really enjoyed.
right? So I just want to know, is there anyone who has any question for me of the
Yeah.
presentation or anything they want to share, that like I would be very happy to do so.
I think we all have a stance on this topic, but it's a beautiful thing to have in our lives as culture. And yeah, I feel like it's who I am because of it. And it's a really beautiful thing.
Yes,
एंड में मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि आप कहते हो ना कि कल्चर की रिस्पेक्ट भी करनी चाहिए, अडॉप्ट करना चाहिए, अरेंजमेंट करना चाहिए, सब कुछ। कल्चर को तो हम तभी जान सकते हैं, चाहे आप स्वीडन में हो, चाहे आप यूरोप में, कनाडा में हो, जितनी देर तक उस कल्चर में आप इन्वॉल्व नहीं होते, उस कल्चर के लोगों के साथ इंटरेक्ट नहीं करते, तब तक आप उस कल्चर को जान नहीं सकते।
Yeah,
Once in a while,
exactly.
we were also there in Sweden, in Lund University. I was a visiting professor in the month of October.
That's where my dad did his PhD.
Oh,
Wow. Yeah, that's
that
the
is long
university.
back. हम थे वहाँ पे 2007 में थे, तो I was there in sociology department. सोशियोलॉजी और इकोनॉमिक्स का डिपार्टमेंट का इकट्ठा है, तो प्रोफेसर वहाँ थे एक, I'm remembering, Staffan Lindbergh.
Yeah, that's a Swedish name.
Staffan Lindbergh was professor over there. So he took us to the countryside. गांव में गए, डिफरेंट गांव दिखाए, उनका कल्चर हमने देखा, वो घोड़ों के साथ वो रखे हुए हैं घर में, पुराने घर उसने दिखाए. Then we in the whole month, then we were having some clues about their culture, that how they are living, what are their traditions, what are their costumes. वो अक्टूबर में महीने में करते हैं, वो एक उनका वो
Santa Lucia.
है ना, वो सिर पे बांधते हैं फूलों का, है ना,
Santa
तो
Lucia,
वो
yeah.
उन्होंने सेलिब्रेट किया. देन वी केम टू नो कि उनका कल्चर क्या है और हमारा कल्चर क्या है, हाउ वी आर डिफरेंट, हाउ दे आर सेलिब्रेटिंग. सो अनलेस एंड अनटिल वी इंटरेक्ट विद द पर्सन्स, वी converse with the persons, only then we come to know about their culture. Otherwise, we remain ignorant.
Yes, that's true, Kauji. That's one of the main, like, that's what I was trying to convey to everyone. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Uzma, do you want to say something?
Ji, Fawzia, I was listening. Thank you for bringing this topic. Very interesting topic. Everybody is contributing. तो मैं सोच रही थी सब इंग्लिश क्यों बोल रहे हैं? फौजिया को तो हिंदी आती है, काम चला लेती है ना? हम कल्चर पे बात कर रहे हैं. तो एक बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज कि हम वी टेक प्राइड, जैसे कि कमलजीत जी ने कहा कि हम पंजाबी सूट पहनते हैं, हम अपना कल्चर प्रमोट कर रहे हैं, सारा कुछ. जब मैं सोचती हूँ तो पाकिस्तान में इसका बिल्कुल उलट हो रहा है. वहां ये वाला कल्चर ही नहीं प्रमोट हो रहा. यहाँ अभी मैं इस वीकेंड पे जो बात कर रही थी वो था पंजाबी, जो पाकिस्तान, हम शाहमुखी और गुरमुखी दोनों की बात कर रहे हैं. लाहौर के स्कूलों में पंजाबी नहीं पढ़ाई जाती, पंजाब में पंजाबी नहीं पढ़ाई जाती, और वहां आप समझे ये जुबान खत्म हो रही थी, क्योंकि लोगों को लगता था कि जो पंजाबी बोलते हैं वो सम कोई कोई उनको इतना अच्छा नहीं समझा जाता था। तो अक्सर लोग जो ठेठ पंजाबी वाले थे उन्होंने अपने बच्चों से उर्दू बोलनी शुरू की और फिर इंग्लिश बोलनी शुरू की। वो हमारे साथ वाले अंकल कहते थे वे शट अप वे, तो मैं हंसा करती थी ये कौन ये क्या तो वो वाले कल्चर और यहाँ के, तो काफी चीजें हम लोगों को, जैसे कि अभी बात हुई कि हमें यहाँ का कल्चर भी एक्सेप्ट करना है और अपना भी बताना है उनको, दोनों साइड से। मुझे तरस आता है अपने बच्चों पे जो जो 7-7 8-8 घंटे स्कूल्स में रहते हैं, यहाँ का कल्चर, और जैसे ही घर आते हैं वो बेचारों की शामत आती है, भूल गए तुम कौन सी, तुम क्या हो, तुम क्या हो। तो हमें वो बैलेंस क्रिएट करना है। और चूंकि फौजिया और ये लोग सारे, इन्होंने वो कल्चर देखा हुआ है कि कैसे इन्होंने वहां का कल्चर भी सीखा यूरोप का और यहाँ का भी, और आई एम श्योर फौजिया आप अपने बच्चों को भी दोनों सिखाओगी, करोगी।
Yes, yes, मैं दोनों सिखाए. Now the thing is that, Usmanti, challenging is not unko, you have to also have them exposed. Like, for example, like I'm planning to take my daughter to Bangladesh. Let's say last time when I took her, she enjoyed, she saw the culture. What we are doing, we are not exposing them to the culture. So let's say we are going to an event, we are taking them to the event when they're older or they're younger. But when you expose them to event, and they will know more culture, because if we don't, culture is not something you can teach at home only. Like, behavior, manners, that's a different thing. Culture is something you need to have them exposed. They need to go, let's say she never been in like a real Bengali wedding, or like, Indian or Pakistani wedding. So my daughter is saying, okay, you have Mehndi, and then you have you have the wedding, because back home they have so many weddings. How do you celebrate Eid? The Eid we celebrate back home is different than here. Do you feel that it's Eid? So I try to make sure that, okay, she feels that it's Eid, then I take her to mosque. So I'm saying we have to like expose them to the culture. If we don't expose in early stage, we try to expose later, it's going to be harder. So that's one of the thing we are having issue, because parents are busy with their life. So I don't associate that much with my community, but I'm trying to expose her to culture in a way, like we do something in our house to show, what, this is not religion, it's a culture. We are having this program because in Bengali culture they have this kind of program. Like, I'm just giving a stupid example. We wear sari. My daughter's like, I don't want to wear sari. We all sisters that wear sari. It's like a cultural thing. We're just gonna be us family. And, oh, mommy, that's what you do. What, can you just tell me more about it? Like, so, if you just tell, you have to expose them to the culture. You have to take them back home. You have to show them this is what Bangladesh, this is Pakistan, this is what you do. But one thing I do agree with you, that even back home in Bangladesh, because of the TVs and like internet and everything, our country is being exposed to the westernized. So they think that if we are cool, if we are like wearing jeans, we are like, we are smart. So when I go back home, I just wear like, normal clothes. They look at me, you came from Canada, seriously, and you wear hijab? They expect me to be like, stylish, like cutting the hair nice, and like, wearing makeup all the time and being smart. They think you're smart if you wear makeup and you have nice hair, wear nice, like, those jeans and shirt, those, they expect us to be like that. But my thing is, it's so sad that in our country, they're losing the culture. But because we are outside the country, we feel for our culture because we are not getting it, and we're trying to find it, and we're trying to see, maybe if we go to this event, we'll be able to expose our children to culture. Maybe we should do events where our kids can, kids can get into the culture and know what culture is, so that's why like the world is going like in a really weird way. So whenever they see me, they see I don't have a lot of Western like culture, they just get surprised. I'm like, you don't have to be in that culture in order to live in Canada. You can have your own culture, own religion. That's what I try to explain to them too, back home.
So how comfortable you are कि उनको Canadian culture में आप कितना exposure दोगी?
Zmanti, like they ask me a lot of questions. How do you do in Canada? Is that what you do in Canada? Then I tell them this is how they do in Canada, but this is how I do it because of my culture and religion. So my cousins and my family member, they do ask me questions. Like I have seen.
No, I'm talking about Amira.
Okay. Say it again. The question.
Amira को आप Canadian culture का कितना exposure दोगी? Because you are giving her exposure of your culture.
you know, like the thing is that Canadian culture है ना, अगर कुछ अच्छा नहीं है मैं उसको बताती हूँ ये अच्छा नहीं है. Like one of the bad, I don't know, you know, the news, they're talking about the, you know, what do you call, you know, those was it gay parade or what is it, that thing they had, they're
Right.
teaching the kids
Right.
in the kids, right? Yeah, so I explained to my daughter what it is. I say that we should not expose to that culture. This is a Western culture. They're teaching that this is not, this is wrong. She's like, yeah, mommy, I agree with you. If I think any culture that's they're showing, like that's a good example that I think is she should not be exposed to, I explained to her why it's wrong, and I explained to her why it's not good for her. Then she tried to understand that, and then she sometimes do her own research. She said, mommy, trust me, I do understand, I'm not dumb, I know. Because she's like, you know, she talks to me like that. So it depends, every kids are different. Some kids they understand, some kids they don't. Some of the kids they say, my friend did it, that's why I'm doing it, that's why I'm having this like colorful whatever, you know, they have a logo. Why do you have this? You're not supposed to have. And parents start fighting with them. So with my daughter, I'm going to expose to her a culture that I think is good. But if I think is not good, I'm going to tell her it's wrong. Even though it's a culture we should not follow, and I'll give her a reason why we should not follow. So we always tell them that बुरा है, ये नहीं करना. क्यों नहीं करना? हम वो नहीं करते. अगर हम उनको एक्सप्लेन करते ना क्यों ये नहीं कर सकते, आप क्यों नहीं करेंगे, अच्छा क्यों नहीं होगा, then they try to understand. But if you just say don't do it, they'll still do it because they don't know why you are telling them no. No?
That's
It's a
true.
balance,
That's
it's a
true.
balance between your values and your culture, and of course the culture you're in, culture of the country you're in. It's a set of balance.
Yes, because if you don't balance, you cannot live in North America. Because when you are rebellious against your children, no, either is my way or highway, they will choose their way. But if you say that, okay, this is how you do it in your way, but you also have to do this in this way, right? Then you give them, then they understand, they balance it, right? So that's where, you know, when I do a parenting workshop, that's where I see parents, that's where they miss it, that they want only their way. Children then they when they get rebellious. If you want your way, I'm gonna have it my way. That's not how it should be.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Fawzia, for being here today. अगर किसी का
Yeah,
कोई
thank you so
question
much for
है,
having me. Thank you so much, Usmanti. It was a very interesting topic, and I was looking forward to it. And I'm happy you guys all enjoyed. And thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for being here.
yes,
Thank-
बहुत लंबा डिस्कशन होता है इस पे because it's an interesting topic और बहुत सारे हम cultures के हैं इधर लोग different cultures के तो
Yeah, we will I think we will bring part 2 as well.
okay,
Okay.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
because this is something that we are very passionate. इस पे और बात करेगी और आज तो सरीन बड़े अरसे के बाद आई हैं. I'm so glad that she is here.
Yes.
I missed you guys, honestly.
I know.
I didn't want to see you on Facebook and the videos and all that you're doing, and I'm like, I'm so missing out. So we
Yeah,
gotta get
thank
back
you
in.
So
so much,
nice that you are
everyone.
here.
Thank you so much, Usmanti, for having me. I
Your
really
FOMO
appreciate
brought
it.
you back, Sir Cyrene. Your FOMO brought you back.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I love you all. Yeah.
That's great. So next week हमारा कोई session नहीं है, just to let the participants know because it's holidays, and happy holidays everybody. Have a great
Yeah.
time.
Happy
Enjoy.
holidays to everyone. Usmanti, I need to leave. I have to take Amira to the karate class.
I know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's 6 o'clock. We are all leaving. I have to take Hania. This is her first, no, not first. This is her in-person performance as a
Dancer.
as a poet. No, she's going for an
Oh,
open mic
mashallah.
at Chai Wala.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
Six.
mashallah, mashallah. Give her lots of love from me. She messaged me and I say, I'm so proud of you, you know? Hani, assalamu
good
alaikum.
luck,
I'm so
good
proud
luck.
of you.
She was
Oh,
even on the
Ahmed.
magazine cover, you know. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Hania.
She's got
Hi,
a
assalamu
voice.
alaikum,
Hani, I'm
everyone.
really welcome. So I'm really proud of you. Okay, congratulations.
proud
You
of
look so
you,
beautiful.
Hania.
Thank you. It's their
Wow.
first series of Chai Wala, and usually they have it in other restaurants, but since it's alcohol, I can't do it in this one. So this is the halal restaurant, so I can do it in this one.
Oh,
That's why I'm
wow.
doing this.
Mashallah. Let me know how it went.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is again the cultural thing where
Mhm.
they serve alcohol. She doesn't want to go. She's not comfortable.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, okay,
And she
okay,
said
okay.
this is a halal because she got other opportunities. She refused. And this
Mhm.
is the one because it's halal. She said, I can go there.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. And this is their first series, so I'd rather be a part of their first series because then they'll call me up again and maybe I can get a contract.
That's so
Awesome.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay,
look
everyone.
so cute.
Okay, good luck.
Okay,
Enjoy the
yeah.
Happy
time.
holidays. See you next
Happy
year.
holidays. Yeah, see you.
And let
Bye.
us know about her, what she's doing too. Yeah.
Okay. Bye bye, everybody. Take care. Thank you, Madan uncle. Bye bye.